After spending a few days in one of the most overstimulating cities on the planet, we finally entered the desert. The extreme diversity of every state in America is absolutely beyond words, and the desert is no exception. Our first stop was of course the Hoover Dam. Did anyone else grow up obsessing over James Bond's film and video game GoldenEye? Classic. On the road again, and it was about dinner time. So we pulled in a completely random small town on the way to the Grand Canyon, only to find out that we're actually on Route 66, which was pretty random. But not as random as the fact this town was like a version of Radiator Springs from the Cars movies. Turns out it's based on places like these that have been detoured around years ago and have since dried up. It would have been a dead empty town except for us, but a busload of TikTokers decided to rock up and melted my brain. We kept moving and found our tiny home in the dark at Grand Canyon Junction. We stayed a couple of nights in this full off-grid shack, which to be honest was pretty cool. But as relaxing as it was also only a half hour from the Grand Canyon, so we hit the road. This gigantic crevice in the Earth's crust, caused by millions of years of erosion, known as the Grand Canyon, is absolutely friggin' huge. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's flat earther equivalents out there somewhere skepticising that this is not real. Because honestly, it looks fake. I mean, at its widest, it's almost 30 kilometres across and 1,600 metres deep. So it's extremely hard to comprehend the scale of it when looking down from the rim. It actually looks like a painting. What a spectacular sight to see. next morning we set off to Paige, and this is where shit got real desert-like. The landscapes changed so dramatically throughout this drive, and it was easily one of my favourite parts of the country. Anyone who willingly lives in a place as unforgiving as this land is a bloody hard human being. I take my hat off to the Navajo people for enduring all these years. We arrived in Paige, which was our base for a few days of exploration, and it was also Isla's 3rd birthday, so we had the day off and checked out the town, went for a couple of swims, loaded up on cake and watched a heap of bluey. The following morning we set off to Antelope Canyon. Unfortunately, the Navajo people don't allow filming in the canyons, so I focused a lot more on photos, and I honestly couldn't be happier for that. This was again another spectacular place, and if you skip it to save money, you're only doing yourself a disservice, as it really is that stunning. I'd pay again in a heartbeat. It was absolutely epic. Ever since I started landscape photography, Horseshoe Bend has been up near the top of my bucket list on places to photograph. Until I got down there, I really couldn't comprehend the sheer size of the location. Unfortunately, I didn't have a wide enough lens or the hectic light I envisioned, but I stitched together a pano, and the experience itself was still amazing. Except, I couldn't have been happier that Isla and Haley stayed at the hotel, as I witnessed a child nearly run off the edge. The sheer horror in the parents' faces scared the absolute crap out of me. It was a really sketchy location, and I refused to take Haley the following day. Watch your kids around 300 metre vertical drops, people. You only get one shot at life. Next up was Monument Valley. We almost skipped this place as it was a bit of a detour and we were pretty tired. But I'm really glad we didn't, as it turned out to be our favourite location in the States. This has nothing to do with the movie history, although that was really cool, even if Forrest Gump Point was a social media death trap. The valley itself just had this vibe that's pretty hard to explain. I'm fairly confident there was just something in the air. We spent a few hours roaming through the valley and soaking up the views. As it was a long day out, we almost called it and went back to Paige, but we persevered, and staying till sunset was the best decision we've ever made. The following morning we headed back to Utah to check out some more parks. The ever-changing landscapes again are just mind-blowing, and there's always something new to look at. You think desert and you think nothing, but it just continuously changes in the most positive way. We stayed a couple of nights near Dixi National Forest, which I'd never heard of until we drove through it, but far out. It really warmed us up for Bryce Canyon the following day. despite the morning, we headed back to top off the evening with a banger of a sunset. The following morning we hit the road to visit our final park in the States, Zion National Park. This was by far the busiest national park we visited in the States. It was up next to Lake Louise in Canada. There was no parking even at the visitor centre after 20 minutes of lapping, and I had just come down with some kind of spicy cough, so I only briefly passed through the park and had to call it a day. But far out, this park was absolutely off the charts. Hayley'd been here previously in the snow, and it was her favourite park, so it was a shame, but whatever, we were done, and it was time for a bit of a rest. So after a night in, we went back to Vegas to drop off the car before heading back to Napa for a few days rest. Next up, some dedicated island time was on the cards, so we headed back to LA to visit Universal Studios and the OG Disneyland. As always, I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, thanks for watching and cheers.